The palace was quiet at night. Most workers had gone to sleep. Only Taehyun moved through the empty halls, pushing her cleaning cart. She was new here. This was only her third night working in Emperor Kule's grand palace. Taehyun was human. She came from Earth, a planet that had recently joined the galactic hegemony. The aliens called it a peaceful integration, but humans knew better. They had no choice in the matter. Now millions of humans worked as servants for alien masters across the galaxy. Emperor Kule ruled 17 star systems. His people had 6 eyes, 4 arms, and hard shells like insects. Humans found them scary, but they were the bosses now. Taehyun's job was simple: clean the east wing of the palace during night hours. She had been told to avoid the large chamber at the end of the hall. That room belonged to the Emperor's most prized possession, his celestial dragon. Everyone knew about the dragon. It was the last of its kind from a distant galaxy. The Emperor showed it off at important meetings. Having such a rare creature made him seem more powerful. Taehyun had just finished mopping the marble floor near the grand staircase when she heard a strange sound. It was coming from the forbidden chamber, the dragon's room. The sound was sad, like someone crying. She knew she should ignore it. The rules were clear. No one entered the dragon's chamber except the Emperor himself. Breaking this rule could mean serious punishment, but the crying continued. It pulled at Taehyun's heart. Before she could stop herself, she moved toward the large golden doors. Just a quick peek, she whispered to herself. No one will know. The doors were heavy, but one was slightly open. Taehyun slipped through the gap and froze at what she saw. The room was enormous, bigger than any room she had seen before. The ceiling was so high it disappeared in shadows. Moonlight streamed through tall windows, lighting up the center of the room. There, on a giant nest made of gold and jewels, lay the celestial dragon. Taehyun had never seen it up close. The creature was massive, at least as long as 3 buses placed end to end. Its scales shimmered with colors that changed as it moved, like oil on water. 2 curved horns rose from its head and a line of spikes ran down its back. But what shocked Taehyun most was that the dragon was crying. Huge tears fell from its golden eyes. Each tear dropped to the floor and turned into a small, perfect gemstone. The floor around the nest was covered with these tear gems. The dragon's shoulders shook as it tried to cry quietly. The sound broke Taehyun's heart. Whatever this creature was, it was suffering. She must have made a noise because suddenly the dragon's head snapped up. Its golden eyes, wet with tears, locked onto her. Taehyun's heart stopped. She was sure she was about to die. Human, the dragon said in perfect Korean, you should not be here. The voice was deep but gentle, filling the room like distant thunder. Taehyun was too shocked to move. How did it know her language? I'm sorry, she finally managed to say, bowing deeply as she had been taught. I thought, I'll leave right away. She turned to go, her legs shaking. Wait. The single word stopped her. Taehyun slowly turned back. The dragon was watching her with curious eyes. You're not afraid of me? Taehyun thought about this. She was scared, yes, but not as much as she should be. I'm more curious than afraid, she admitted. The dragon made a rumbling sound that might have been a laugh. Curious. How very human of you. It shifted its massive body, moving closer to her. Come here, little one. What do they call you? Taehyun hesitated, then took a few steps forward. My name is Taehyun. Taehyun, the dragon repeated as if testing the name. I am Dohyun. That sounds like a Korean name, Taehyun said, surprised. I have lived for 900 years and learned many languages. Your Korean is a beautiful one. The dragon lowered its head until it was closer to her level. You're wondering why I weep. It wasn't a question, but Taehyun nodded anyway. I am the last of my kind, Dohyun said softly. The Emperor keeps me as a symbol of his power, to show he can own what cannot be owned. I have no family, no friends of my kind. I am alone in this universe. Taehyun felt a lump in her throat. I understand loneliness, she said. Since the aliens came to Earth, many of us have been separated from our families. I haven't seen my parents or my brother in months. Dohyun's eyes widened slightly. The Emperor told us humans volunteered to serve the hegemony. Taehyun couldn't help the bitter laugh that escaped her. Is that what he calls it? We had no choice. It was either work for them or... She didn't finish the sentence. The dragon was quiet for a long moment. Humans are strange creatures, it finally said. So small and fragile, Yet you speak truth to a being who could destroy you with a single breath? Perhaps that's all we have left. Our truth, Taehyun replied. Another tear fell from Do-hyun's eye, turning into a blue gemstone as it hit the floor. Taehyun watched it roll to a stop near her foot. May I? She asked, pointing to the tear gem. Do-hyun nodded. Taehyun picked up the stone. It was warm to the touch and seemed to glow from within. They're beautiful, she said, but sad. The Emperor collects them, Do-hyun said. Dragon tears are very valuable. He doesn't care why I cry, only that I do. Taehyun felt anger rise in her chest. That's cruel. That is power, Do-hyun corrected. Something humans are learning about now. Taehyun placed the tear gem back on the floor. I should go. If they find me here, I'll be punished. Yes, Do-hyun agreed. But before you go, why did you come in when you heard me crying? You knew it was forbidden. Taehyun thought about it. I guess. I know what it's like to cry alone. No one should have to do that, not even a dragon. Do-hyun studied her with ancient eyes that seemed to see right through her. Return tomorrow night, Taehyun, after you finish your duties. I find your company soothing. Taehyun knew she should say no. It was dangerous. If caught, she could lose her position, or worse. But looking at the lonely creature before her, she couldn't refuse. I'll come, she promised. As she slipped back through the golden doors, Taehyun realized something important had just happened. For the first time since Earth's integration, she had made a choice of her own. Outside in the hallway, she quickly checked that no one had seen her. The palace remained quiet. She pushed her cleaning cart toward the supply closet, her mind racing with questions. Why did the Emperor's dragon speak Korean? Why did it trust her enough to ask her to return? And most importantly, what would happen tomorrow night? As she put away her cleaning supplies, Taehyun felt something she hadn't felt in months. Excitement. Life as a human servant in the alien empire was dull and hopeless, but now she had a secret, a dangerous, wonderful secret. She had made friends with a dragon. The next day felt endless to Taehyun. She scrubbed floors, dusted shelves, and polished strange alien objects while thinking about Do-hyun. Would the dragon really be waiting for her? Was she making a terrible mistake? When night finally came, Taehyun finished her regular duties faster than usual. Her heart beat quickly as she approached the golden doors of the dragon's chamber. She paused, listening. No crying tonight. Maybe Do-hyun had forgotten their meeting. Taking a deep breath, she slipped through the small gap in the doors. The massive room looked different tonight. Small lights floated near the ceiling like stars. Do-hyun lay on the jeweled nest, head raised, watching the door as if expecting her. You came, the dragon said, sounding pleased. I promised I would, Taehyun replied. Walking closer, Do-hyun's scales shimmered as the dragon moved. Promises mean little in the Emperor's court. I wasn't sure if humans valued them. Some do, some don't. Just like any people, I guess. Taehyun stopped a few feet from the nest. Unsure how close she should get. Sit, Do-hyun said, using one massive claw to push forward what looked like a cushion. I had this brought for you. Taehyun sat on the cushion, which was softer than anything she'd felt since leaving Earth. Thank you. Won't the Emperor ask why you wanted this? Do-hyun made the rumbling laugh sound again. The Emperor doesn't question my small requests. He believes I am, what's your word? Eccentric. 900 years gives one certain privileges. You're really that old? Taehyun asked, amazed. I am young for my kind. We can live thousands of years. Do-hyun's golden eyes grew sad. Or we could when there were more of us. What happened to your people? Taehyun asked gently. Do-hyun was quiet for a moment. War, greed, the usual reasons worlds end. The celestial dragons lived in peace for millennia, until other species discovered our home. Our tears, our scales, even our blood, all valuable. We were hunted until only a few remained. And now you're the last one, as far as I know. I was captured as a young dragon. I've been passed from one powerful owner to another for centuries. Do-hyun lowered his massive head. Emperor Kuel is not the worst master I've had, but a cage is still a cage, even one made of gold. Taehyun felt a deep sadness for the dragon. I'm sorry. I can't imagine living so long alone. Tell me about Earth, Do-hyun said, changing the subject. The Emperor says it's a primitive world, barely worth conquering. Taehyun smiled. It's beautiful. We have oceans that stretch farther than you can see, mountains that touch the clouds. Forest so thick with trees that sunlight barely reaches the ground. It sounds like my homeworld, Do-hyun said softly. We have problems too, Tae-hyun admitted. Wars, pollution, people who care more about power than others. But there's good too. Music that can make you cry, food that tastes so good you remember it years later, people who would give their last meal to a stranger. You miss it, Do-hyun observed, every day. Tae-hyun looked down at her hands. I was studying to be a dancer before the aliens, before the hegemony came. Now I clean floors. A dancer? Do-hyun's eyes brightened. What kind of dance? Traditional Korean dance. I trained since I was 5 years old. Tae-hyun's voice grew sad. It seems pointless now. Show me, Do-hyun said. Here? Now? Yes, I haven't seen human dance before. Tae-hyun hesitated, then stood up. I don't have the right clothes or music. That doesn't matter. Taking a deep breath, Tae-hyun began to dance. At first she felt silly and stiff. But as she continued, the movements came back to her body. She forgot about being a maid. She forgot about the alien palace. She was just Tae-hyun, dancing as she had done all her life. When she finished, Do-hyun was watching her with wonder. Beautiful, the dragon said. Your movements remind me of the celestial dance. What's that? The sacred dance of my people. It was performed during important ceremonies. Do-hyun rose up, surprisingly graceful for such a large creature. It went something like this. The dragon began to move, body flowing like water. Despite Do-hyun's size, the movements were delicate and precise. Tae-hyun watched, amazed at how something so large could move so beautifully. That's incredible, she said when Do-hyun finished. Our dances aren't so different. Perhaps all beings who move find similar ways to express beauty, Do-hyun said. They talked for hours after that. Do-hyun told stories of ancient worlds and strange civilizations. Tae-hyun shared memories of Earth, simple things like the taste of her mother's cooking or the sound of rain on the roof. I should go, Tae-hyun said finally, noticing the time. Morning workers will arrive soon. Will you come tomorrow? Do-hyun asked. Yes, Tae-hyun promised without hesitation, and so began their nightly meetings. Each night after finishing her work, Tae-hyun would slip into the dragon's chamber. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes Do-hyun would teach her words in the dragon's language, sounds that human throats could barely make. Sometimes they would just sit quietly together, two lonely beings finding comfort in each other's company. One night, about 2 weeks after their first meeting, Tae-hyun arrived to find Do-hyun pacing the room, clearly upset. What's wrong? She asked. The Emperor is hosting the Galactic Council next week, Do-hyun said. Leaders from all major worlds will attend, is that bad? I must perform for them. The celestial dance is the highlight of the Emperor's grand parties. Do-hyun's voice was bitter. I am his prized pet, showing off my tricks. I'm sorry, Tae-hyun said, not knowing what else to say. The dance was meant to be performed by 2 dragons, Do-hyun continued. It tells the story of creation, how the universe was born from the dance of 2 great spirits. Performing it alone is wrong, incomplete. Tae-hyun thought for a moment. Could you show me the full dance? The 2-dragon version? Do-hyun looked surprised but began to demonstrate. The movements were complex, with clear spaces where another dancer should be. Tae-hyun watched carefully, her trained eye seeing the patterns. Some of these movements are similar to our fan dance, she said when Do-hyun finished. In Korea, we use large fans to create shapes and tell stories. An idea began to form in her mind. It was crazy, impossible even, but looking at Do-hyun's sad eyes, she couldn't stay silent. What if I danced with you? Do-hyun stared at her. A human and a dragon? It's never been done. Maybe that's why it should be done, Tae-hyun said, growing excited. I could adapt my fan dance to complement yours. We could create something new, something that honors both our traditions. The Emperor would never allow it, Do-hyun said, but there was a spark of interest in those golden eyes. Then we don't tell him, Tae-hyun said boldly. I could hide until the music starts, then join you. By the time anyone realizes what's happening, it would be too late to stop us. It's dangerous, Do-hyun warned. For both of us, but especially for you. Tae-hyun thought about her life since Earth's integration. Endless cleaning, being treated like she was nothing, having no purpose or joy. What did she have to lose? I want to do this, she said firmly. I want to dance again. And I want to help you show the true meaning of your sacred dance. Do-hyun was quiet for a long moment. Then the dragon nodded slowly. We would need to practice. Every night, Tae-hyun agreed. I can make fans from cleaning cloths. No one will notice. If we're caught, we won't be, Taehyun said with more confidence than she felt. And if we are, I'll take the blame. I'll say I forced my way into your performance. Dohyun made a sound that might have been a snort. A human forcing a celestial dragon? No one would believe that. They looked at each other and both began to laugh, the human's light giggle mixing with the dragon's deep rumble. For the first time since meeting Dohyun, Taehyun noticed something important. The dragon had not cried once tonight. For the next 5 nights, Taehyun and Dohyun practiced their dance in secret. Taehyun made 2 large fans from cleaning cloths and thin metal rods she found in a storage room. She hid them under a loose floor tile in the hallway, bringing them out only during their practice sessions. Your movements are getting smoother, Dohyun said on the 5th night. You learn quickly. Taehyun wiped sweat from her forehead. Dancing with a creature 20 times her size was hard work. I still miss the timing when you do the spiral move. Try again, Dohyun encouraged. When I rise up, count to 3 before you start your fan sweep. They practiced the move several more times until Taehyun got it right. The dance was coming together. When Dohyun moved forward, Taehyun moved back. When the dragon's tail swept left, Taehyun's fan swept right. They created balance together. The Galactic Council arrives tomorrow, Dohyun said as they finished practice. The performance will be the following night. Taehyun nodded, suddenly nervous. Are we really going to do this? Are you having second thoughts? Dohyun asked. No, yes. I don't know. Taehyun sat down on her cushion. What will the Emperor do if he's angry? Dohyun's eyes grew serious. I won't let him hurt you. You can't promise that. I can, Dohyun said firmly. I may be a captive, but I am still a celestial dragon. Even Emperor Kyul fears my anger. Taehyun wasn't sure if that was true, but she appreciated the dragon's protection. Let's go through the ending one more time, she said, standing up. They practiced until Taehyun could barely stay on her feet. As she prepared to leave, Dohyun stopped her. Wait, I have something for you. The dragon reached one massive claw into the jeweled nest and pulled out a small object. It was one of Dohyun's tear gems, but this one was different. It had been attached to a thin silver chain. For your performance, Dohyun explained. A dragon tear brings luck and courage to its wearer. Taehyun took the necklace, touched by the gift. It's beautiful. Thank you. Hide it until the performance, Dohyun warned. Dragon tears are too valuable for a human made to possess. Taehyun nodded and carefully tucked the necklace into her pocket. I should go. Big day tomorrow. Indeed, Dohyun agreed. Remember, when the guests arrive, stay out of sight. The Emperor will be too busy to notice one missing human worker. I'll be ready, Taehyun promised. The next day, the palace was in chaos. Important visitors from across the galaxy arrived in grand ships. Strange aliens of all shapes and sizes walked the halls. Some had multiple limbs, others floated instead of walked. Some were tiny, barely reaching Taehyun's knee, while others had to duck to pass through doorways. Taehyun kept her head down and did her work. No one paid attention to another human cleaner. She listened to the excited whispers of other workers. The whole Galactic Council is here. I saw the ambassador from Zith. They have skin that changes color with their mood. The Emperor is wearing his ceremonial armor, all 6 arms covered in jewels. As evening approached, Taehyun slipped away from her assigned area. She retrieved her hidden fans and the dragon tear necklace. Finding an empty storage room, she quickly changed out of her work clothes. For days, she had been secretly altering one of her spare uniforms. She had cut and resewn it to look more like a dance costume. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than performing in a cleaner's uniform. She put on the necklace last, feeling the warm gem against her skin. Taking a deep breath, she made her way toward the grand hall where the performance would take place. The hallways near the grand hall were crowded with servants carrying food and drinks. Taehyun kept to the shadows, avoiding the busy areas. She found a service door that led into the back of the grand hall and slipped inside. The hall was enormous and filled with important guests. Taehyun had never seen so many different alien species in one place. They sat at round tables, eating, drinking, and talking in various languages. At the front of the room was a raised platform where Emperor Kyul sat on his throne. His 6 eyes scanned the room, and his forearms moved in different directions as he spoke to several people at once. His 2 lower arms remained on the armrests of his throne, showing his royal status. Taehyun hid behind a large decorative column. From here, she could see the open area in the center of the hall where Do-hyun would perform. Her heart beat fast. Was she really going to do this? Dance in front of the most powerful beings in the galaxy? She touched the dragon tear necklace for courage. After what seemed like hours, Emperor Kyul stood up. The room fell silent. "Distinguished guests," the Emperor said, his voice amplified throughout the hall. "The Galactic Hegemony welcomes you to this historic council meeting. Before we begin our discussions tomorrow, I offer you a rare treat." He gestured with his upper arms. "Behold, the last celestial dragon performing the sacred dance of its extinct kind." Large doors at the side of the hall opened. Do-hyun entered, moving with grace despite his massive size. The gathered aliens murmured in appreciation. Many stood up to see better. Do-hyun took position in the center of the hall. Music began to play. Strange, haunting sounds that Taehyun now recognized as traditional dragon music. Do-hyun began to dance. The movements were powerful yet elegant. The dragon's scales caught the light, sending colorful reflections across the hall. Taehyun watched, counting the beats in her head. She knew exactly when to enter. Her hands gripped her fans tightly. When Do-hyun completed the first part of the dance, Taehyun took a deep breath and stepped out from behind the column. The room went completely silent. Even the musicians missed a note. Emperor Kyul half rose from his throne, his 6 eyes widening in shock. But before anyone could stop her, Taehyun began to dance. Her fans opened like wings as she moved in perfect harmony with Do-hyun. The dragon continued the dance without hesitation, creating spaces for Taehyun to fill. They moved together as if they had danced this way for years. When Do-hyun rose up, Taehyun spun beneath him. When the dragon's tail swept across the floor, Taehyun leaped over it, her fans creating patterns in the air. The dragon tear necklace glowed against her skin, seeming to pulse with the music. Taehyun forgot about the audience. She forgot about the danger. There was only the dance, the perfect balance between human and dragon, small and large, earth and stars. As they moved into the final sequence, Taehyun could feel the energy in the room. The silence had given way to sounds of wonder. Even Emperor Kyul had sat back down, all 6 eyes fixed on the performance. The dance ended with Do-hyun curled in a circle and Taehyun standing in the center, her fans spread wide like dragon wings. The final note of music hung in the air. For 3 heartbeats there was complete silence. Then the hall erupted in sounds, clicks, whistles, hums, and even clapping from those aliens who had hands. The council members were on their feet, making their various signs of approval. Taehyun looked up at Do-hyun. The dragon's golden eyes shone with something she had never seen before: pride. Emperor Kyul remained seated, his expression unreadable. His upper arm signaled to his guards, who began moving toward Taehyun. Do-hyun saw them too. The dragon moved slightly, positioning his massive body between Taehyun and the approaching guards. "Wait." The Emperor's voice cut through the noise. The guards stopped. Emperor Kyul rose from his throne and walked toward them. The hall fell silent again. Taehyun's moment of triumph faded as fear took its place. What would happen to her now? The Emperor stopped in front of them, looking first at Do-hyun, then at Taehyun. His alien face was hard to read, but his voice was cold when he spoke. "Human, you will come with me. Now." Do-hyun made a low rumbling sound, a warning. The Emperor's eyes shifted to the dragon. "Both of you." "My private chamber, immediately." He turned and walked away, clearly expecting them to follow. Taehyun looked up at Do-hyun, her heart pounding with fear. "Stay close to me," the dragon said quietly. Together, they followed the Emperor out of the grand hall. Emperor Kyul's private chamber was smaller than Taehyun expected. It was filled with strange objects from different worlds, likely treasures from conquered planets. The walls were lined with shelves holding containers of various sizes. Each container held a glowing substance. Taehyun realized with a shock that they were dragon tears, hundreds of them. The Emperor sat in a chair designed for his 6-limbed body. He motioned for the guards to leave. When the door closed, he stared at Taehyun with all 6 of his eyes. "Explain yourself, human," he said coldly. Taehyun opened her mouth, but Do-hyun spoke first. "The fault is mine, Emperor. I requested the human's help." The Emperor's attention shifted to the dragon. You expect me to believe that? A celestial dragon asking help from a human cleaner. It is the truth, Do-hyun said firmly. The celestial dance was meant for two. For centuries I have performed it alone, incomplete. This human showed me her earth dance. The movements complemented mine perfectly. Emperor Kyul turned back to Taehyun. What is your name? Taehyun, your magnificence, she answered, bowing deeply as she had been taught. Look at me, Taehyun. She raised her eyes to meet his gaze. You were not authorized to participate in this performance. You disrupted an official Galactic Council event. You touched a royal treasure. He pointed to the dragon tear necklace she wore. These are serious offenses. Taehyun's legs trembled, but she stood straight. I accept whatever punishment you think is fair, your magnificence. But please understand, the dance was dying. It was meant for partners. The Emperor's head tilted slightly. Those were almost the exact words Do-hyun used when explaining the dance to me years ago. He stood and walked to one of the shelves, running a hand over the containers of dragon tears. Do you know why these are valuable, human? Because they're beautiful. Taehyun answered honestly. Because they're rare, the Emperor corrected. Rarity creates value. The last celestial dragon's tears are the rarest substance in the known galaxy. He turned to face them again. Yet tonight, for the first time in the 3 decades I have owned Do-hyun, there were no tears. Not one. Taehyun glanced at Do-hyun, suddenly understanding. The dragon hadn't cried since they began practicing their dance. Happiness is not rare, the Emperor continued. It is common, worthless. Sorrow, true, deep sorrow, that is valuable. With respect to your magnificence, Taehyun said carefully, on Earth, we believe happiness is very valuable. We spend our whole lives searching for it. Humans would think that way, the Emperor said dismissively. Your species is young, primitive. Perhaps, Do-hyun said, but they understand some things better than older species. They know that value isn't always about rarity. The Emperor walked closer to Taehyun, studying her as if she were an interesting insect. You changed my dragon. Made it happy. He said the word like it tasted bad. You cost me valuable tears. I didn't mean to, but, the Emperor continued, raising one hand to silence her. You also created something unexpected. The council members are impressed. Ambassador Zith has already requested a private performance. The delegation from Milar wants to know if this is a new art form being developed by the hegemony. He walked back to his chair and sat down. They think I planned this, that I cleverly combined the grace of a celestial dragon with the flexibility of a human form. Taehyun held her breath, not daring to speak. It would be inconvenient to correct this impression, the Emperor said slowly. Do-hyun moved closer to Taehyun. What are you saying, Emperor? I am saying that perhaps there is value in this new dance after all. Different value, but value nonetheless. The Emperor's mandibles clicked as he thought. The human will no longer work as a cleaner. She will train with you, Do-hyun. You will perfect this performance. Taehyun couldn't believe what she was hearing. You want us to keep dancing together? For the glory of the hegemony, yes. The Emperor stood again. You will be given new quarters near Do-hyun's chamber. You will be provided with proper attire. You will perform when and where I command. It wasn't freedom, but it was better than cleaning floors. Much better. Thank you, your magnificence, Taehyun said, bowing again. Do not thank me yet, human. The Emperor's voice grew cold again. If you disappoint me, the punishment will be severe. And if you ever attempt to help my dragon escape, I would never, Taehyun said quickly. Good. The Emperor walked to the door. You are dismissed. A guard will show you to your new quarters. Training begins tomorrow. After they left the Emperor's chamber, a guard led them through unfamiliar hallways. Taehyun walked beside Do-hyun, still not quite believing what had happened. Are you okay? She whispered to the dragon. I am. Surprised, Do-hyun admitted. I expected worse. Me too. They arrived at a door not far from Do-hyun's chamber. The guard opened it, revealing a beautiful room with large windows and comfortable furniture. It was 100 times nicer than the small closet where Taehyun had been sleeping. Your new quarters, the guard said flatly. Clothing will be delivered in the morning. Do not leave without permission. After the guard left, Taehyun walked around the room in wonder. There was a real bed with soft blankets, a bathroom with hot water, even a small table with fruit and bread. This is amazing, she said. Do-hyun watched her from the doorway, too large to enter the room. It's still a cage, Taehyun. A nicer cage, but a cage nonetheless. Taehyun's excitement faded a little. I know, but at least we'll be together. And we can dance. Yes, Do-hyun agreed. We can dance. The next few weeks were busy. True to his word, the emperor provided Taehyun with beautiful clothes and proper dancing fans. She and Do-hyun practiced every day, perfecting their unusual dance. Word spread quickly through the galactic hegemony about the human and dragon performance. Important visitors came to the palace just to see them dance. Taehyun noticed changes in how humans were treated at the palace. The workers who served food were allowed to speak more freely. Some were given better jobs based on skills they had on Earth. A human who had been a doctor was moved to the medical wing. Another who knew about plants was sent to work in the palace gardens. One morning, Taehyun was surprised to see a group of humans being trained in the main hall. They weren't learning cleaning or serving. They were being taught the language of diplomacy. What's happening? She asked her new handler, an alien named Lox who was responsible for her schedule. The Emperor has decided that humans have more uses than previously thought, Lox explained. Some will be trained for diplomatic service. Because of our dance? Taehyun asked, amazed. Lox tilted his head. The Emperor never explains his decisions, but the timing suggests a connection. That evening, as she practiced with Do-hyun, Taehyun shared what she had seen. It's working, she said excitedly. We're changing things. Do-hyun moved through a complex spiral. Small changes. The Emperor still rules. We are still his possessions. But it's a start, Taehyun insisted. A month ago, I was scrubbing floors. Now humans are being trained as diplomats. True, Do-hyun admitted. Perhaps there is hope for bigger changes. They continued practicing, but Taehyun's mind was racing with new possibilities. If a simple dance could begin to change how humans were seen, what else might be possible? Later that night, as she lay in her comfortable bed, Taehyun touched the dragon tear necklace that she now wore openly. The gem seemed to pulse with a gentle light. We're going to change things, she whispered to it. For humans, for Do-hyun, for everyone. One dance at a time. For the first time since Earth had been integrated into the hegemony, Taehyun fell asleep with real hope for the future. 3 months passed quickly. Taehyun and Do-hyun performed their dance for important visitors from across the galaxy. Each time, the audience was amazed by the perfect harmony between the tiny human and the massive dragon. Taehyun's life had changed completely. She no longer wore a cleaner's uniform but beautiful costumes made just for her. She ate good food and slept in a comfortable room. People who had once ignored her now bowed when she walked by. But the best change was that Do-hyun no longer cried at night. The Emperor must be upset about losing his valuable tears, Taehyun said one day as they rested after practice. Do-hyun made his rumbling laugh. He is, but he's found something more valuable, influence. Our dance has made him the most talked about ruler in the hegemony. It was true. The Emperor now received more visitors than ever before. Everyone wanted to see the human and dragon dance. And while they were at the palace, the Emperor would talk to them about trade deals, political alliances, and other important matters. One morning, Taehyun was called to the Emperor's chamber. This was unusual. Normally, she only saw the Emperor during performances. When she arrived, she found not only Emperor Kyul, but also several members of the Galactic Council. They sat around a large table covered with maps and documents. Ah, the human dancer arrives, the Emperor said. Come in, Taehyun. She entered nervously, bowing to everyone. You wanted to see me, Your Magnificence? Yes. The council has been discussing your people. The Emperor gestured to the documents on the table. We are considering a new position for humans in the hegemony. Taehyun's heart beat faster. What kind of position? Ambassador Zith, a tall alien with color-changing skin, spoke up. Your dance with the celestial dragon has made us reconsider human abilities. You have shown creativity we did not expect. Another council member nodded. Humans adapt quickly. They learn our languages, understand our customs. Perhaps they could be useful in more important roles. Taehyun could hardly believe what she was hearing. What roles do you mean? Diplomatic service for a start, the Emperor said. Cultural exchange. Perhaps even trade representatives eventually. This is wonderful news, Taehyun said, trying to stay calm. My people will be grateful for the opportunity. There is more, the Emperor continued. We are considering returning some humans to Earth to establish a proper hegemony embassy there. They would serve as links between your world and ours. Taehyun's eyes widened. People could go home? Some, yes. Those with the right skills and loyalty to the hegemony. Taehyun thought of all the humans who missed their families, who cried at night just as Do-hyun once had. This would mean so much to my people. The Emperor's 6 eyes studied her. You have played a part in this decision, human dancer. Your performance with my dragon has changed perspectives. Ambassador Zith's skin rippled with blue and green colors, a sign of agreement in their species. Indeed, if a human and a celestial dragon can create such beauty together, perhaps there is more potential in your kind than we realized. The meeting continued for another hour. The council members asked Taehyun questions about Earth, human culture, and what she thought would help humans adjust better to life in the hegemony. When the meeting ended, the Emperor held Taehyun back as the others left. There is one more matter, he said when they were alone. It concerns Do-hyun. Taehyun felt a flash of worry. Is something wrong? Not wrong exactly. The Emperor walked to the window, looking out at the palace grounds. The celestial dragon has served me well for 30 years. In that time, I have never seen it as content as it has been these past months. Do-hyun has enjoyed our dancing, Taehyun said carefully. Yes, and that presents a problem. The Emperor turned to face her. A happy dragon does not cry. No tears means no valuable gems, Taehyun tensed. Was the Emperor going to separate them? Force Do-hyun to be sad again? However, the Emperor continued, I have calculated that the political value of your performances exceeds the value of the tears. Therefore, I have made a decision. He walked to his desk and picked up an official-looking document. Do-hyun will be granted more freedom. The dragon may leave the palace grounds for short periods, accompanied by guards, of course, and you will go with it. Taehyun couldn't hide her surprise. You're letting Do-hyun out of the palace? Within limits, the Emperor clarified. Consider it a reward for your successful performances, and a test of your continued loyalty. Thank you, Your Magnificence, Taehyun said, bowing deeply. We won't disappoint you. See that you don't. The Emperor's voice grew stern. Remember, both of you remain my property. This is not freedom, merely a longer leash. I understand. You may go. Tell Do-hyun of my decision. Taehyun hurried back to Do-hyun's chamber, her mind racing with everything she had learned. When she arrived, the dragon was resting on his jeweled nest. Do-hyun, she called excitedly. You won't believe what just happened. She told him everything, the council's new view of humans, the possibility of people returning to Earth, and most importantly, the Emperor's decision to allow Do-hyun outside the palace. When she finished, Do-hyun was silent for a long moment. Are you not happy? Taehyun asked, confused by his reaction. I am, cautious, Do-hyun said finally. In 900 years I have learned that rulers rarely give gifts without expecting something in return. But this is progress, Taehyun insisted. For both of us. For all humans, yes, Do-hyun agreed. It is progress. Small steps toward a better future. The dragon rose from his nest. When do we get to go outside? Tomorrow, if you want. Do-hyun's golden eyes brightened. Tomorrow, then. I would like to see the sky without windows in the way. The next day, Taehyun and Do-hyun left the palace for the first time. Guards surrounded them, but they hardly noticed. They were too busy enjoying their limited freedom. The palace was on a high mountain. From outside they could see for miles forests, lakes, and in the distance a city where many species lived together. It's beautiful, Taehyun said, breathing the fresh air. Yes, Do-hyun agreed. I had forgotten how good the wind feels. They spent hours outside, walking as far as the guards would allow. Do-hyun told stories about the stars and distant worlds he had seen. Taehyun talked about Earth and her dreams of dancing there again someday. As the suns began to set, this planet had too. They reluctantly returned to the palace. But something had changed. They had tasted freedom, even if it was limited. They wanted more. Over the next few weeks, they were allowed outside regularly. Each time they went a little farther. The guards became more relaxed, sometimes letting them move ahead while following at a distance. 1 month after their first trip outside, something unexpected happened. A transport ship arrived at the palace carrying human passengers. But these weren't new servants. They wore the uniforms of diplomatic trainees. Taehyun was called to meet them. 20 humans stood nervously in the main hall, looking around in wonder at the alien palace. These are the first graduates of our new diplomatic training program, explained Lox, Taehyun's handler. The Emperor thought you might welcome them. Taehyun approached the group. Welcome to the Imperial Palace. My name is Taehyun. A young man stepped forward. The dancer. We've heard about you. You're the reason we're here. What do you mean? Taehyun asked. Your dance with the celestial dragon changed everything, a woman explained. After that, the hegemony started looking at humans differently. They began selecting people with special skills for training. And now we're going back to Earth, another man said excitedly. We'll be the first official human representatives of the hegemony. Taehyun felt tears in her eyes. You're really going home? Yes, and we're bringing news that more humans will be allowed to return soon. Not everyone, but those with families waiting for them. That evening, Taehyun told Do-hyun about the diplomats. It's really happening, she said. Things are changing because of you, Do-hyun said gently. Because you were brave enough to dance with a dragon. Taehyun shook her head. Because of us. Together. She looked out the window at the night sky. Somewhere out there was Earth. For the first time since the integration, she allowed herself to hope that she might see it again. Do you think we'll ever be truly free? She asked Do-hyun. The dragon was quiet for a moment. Freedom comes in many forms, he said finally. Sometimes it's as simple as having a friend who understands your heart. Taehyun smiled and placed her hand on Do-hyun's massive claw. Then I guess we're already a little bit free. Outside, the stars shone brightly. Inside, a human and a dragon sat together in comfortable silence, no longer alone in the universe, and there were no tears.